Hello there, everybody. My name is Zach Fierce, and welcome to In the Lounge, some live game dev Q&A. It is my honor to have our special guest, Robert Lauer, here with us today, and we will be fielding some of your questions from the chat to ask him about game development, education, and game development, and lots of fun art stuff. So, Robert, thank you so much for joining us. Would you mind introducing yourself for our viewers?
Yeah, sure. I'm super happy to be here. My name is Robert Lauer. I'm an indie dev, teacher, organizer for the Cleveland Game Devs, friend of Zach, master of dance.
Ooh, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, I just got it last week. But yeah, I'm happy to be here, taking questions about things and just chilling. I didn't know this had a name. It's called The Lounge.
Yeah, In the Lounge, tentatively. I haven't found a good name yet, so we're using a bad one.
Yeah, I've been there with bad game and channel names.
It's something we all have to go through.
And then every good name I've ever had then got stolen like 3 weeks later.
Yo, I'm so pissed because I'm Zach Fierce Guy on Twitch because somebody has Zach Fierce. I'm Zach Fierce
Really?
everywhere else, and the guy doesn't stream, doesn't use his account. Makes me
That's
so
the same
mad.
thing. So I am Mr. Nades on all gaming platforms except for Twitch. It was the only one I couldn't get. If you Google Mr. Nades, you would almost always get my Steam, my Xcode, and everything like that. Or not Xfire. But now you get like an MRNDA, like a medical thing.
Yo, Nate's for
So-
medicine, huh?
Oh well. Used to be Mr. Nades.
Well, as with every season, they pass and they change, but we grow anew. Unless it's winter, then everything dies.
I just want to point out, I saw on the stream, there's your name, Zach Fierce, but right next to it was a picture of my work that said texture only. So it was Zach Fierce, texture only.
Please,
Model not included.
no materials. I don't want any smoothness or metallicness here. I don't know what I'm talking about. I leave the models to Marissa. Anyways, we should probably go ahead with the actual questions here. So thank you again for joining us, Robert. And I'd like to open us up with a good old starting question, and that is, how did you get into game development?
I actually never wanted to do anything other than game development. When I was 4, this is like a rehearsed thing for me because I always feel really lucky about it. When I was 4 years old, we used to make believe games in the backyard, and then we'd play some video games. But I had a neighbor who always did it with me, and he would make believe games with me. And then I just wanted to do that my whole life. I wanted to bring that running around with wooden sticks and creating adventures into like reality. And then I ended up going to art school since I was in like 4th grade. And so on and so forth, because I was like, I want to make games. I want to learn how to make game art. And that's basically it.
Shoot. Easy enough. Humble beginnings.
I feel lucky, because most people don't really figure out what they want until college. And I just realize how lucky I am now to have known what I wanted.
Very cool. Man, I was in a similar way. I enjoyed making games since I was young, whether it was on the playground, paper, or whatever map editors I could get my hands on. And it's a bug. It gets you. If it gets you at the right place, the right time, the right circumstances, because, as we know, games industry is pretty much a lot of luck.
You said it once before, the harder you work, the luckier you are, and I really love that. I remember I used to make board games with Legos. And then I spent a lot of hours on Age of Empires 2 making my own custom maps and making them as weird as possible.
Oh, man. I love making custom maps. Something about just inserting yourself into the world and creating your own narratives that other people can enjoy just as you dream them up. But I guess that's kind of the concept behind making games in general, or making experiences in general.
And that was, the older I got, the more I learned, I didn't know what I was doing. until I guess senior year of college. So in high school, or not senior year of college, senior year of high school. In high school, I was like, I'm going to make a 14 world 3D platformer collectathon all by myself. It's going to have a boss for every stage, 10 collectibles, and because I love Banjo-Kazooie. And then like I did a bunch of sketches and tried to learn how to 3D model. Didn't know about polygon limits.
Oof, make them smooth.
And I'm glad I crossed that barrier when I was really young of, maybe you shouldn't try to make the AAA title by yourself. Maybe make a Flash game.
We've all been there. We all wanted our MMORPG at some point.
Oh, the MMO is second.
That's come up every Q&A so far. I keep calling this an interview, but it's not really a interview as much as just a casual conversation with questions.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, we've got our first question here from Smallest Pancakes. Hey, Bobby, what's your favorite project you've worked on so far?
So I see Steven's in the chat, and we actually, I feel like this has to be an answer. It's one of two. It was either my senior thesis, Chroma, which I still plan on working on, and I loved that game so much about painting and like exploring the environment. I even have some artwork on the side there.
Looky there.
A little mushroom dude right there. So I really loved working on that. I had a lot of passion for that. The other thing that would be there would be a high college project I was the team lead for, and that was Handle with Care, where it was basically platformer competitive Pac-Man, where you were these little boxes collecting packing foam peanuts, and you would swipe on a mobile device to create platforms to guide them around, and you could cut other people's platforms. But just looking at how much our team accomplished with that, we were looking through all the files last night of like all the cool user interface work we did, and what bums me out is we don't own that IP. And I was just so proud of what everybody got done in one semester of school for that project. So it's definitely between those two, but I guess I'd have to say Chroma, number one.
Sick. Awesome. I've seen little bits and pieces of Chroma as well, and I've really enjoyed what I've seen. I think we've got some in the background here, if I can get it before it rotates. There in the bottom left, I think. There it goes.
There it is.
And there it goes. We'll leave this up for a little while. I like the artwork in the middle right now. It's probably my favorite. The strong natural piece.
I know that guy.
He's a pretty good guy. All right, cool. If you've got any more questions for Bobby, please ask them in the chat, and I'd be happy to field them. In the meantime, I'd like to ask you about Cleveland Game Developers. This is an organization that I am a part of, something I try to attend regularly and meet up with people. In fact, we've got some Cleveland Game Developer attendees in the chat here. And I wanted to ask you about the group itself and then your role in helping organize it.
So, yeah, I jumped in after one of our members left for another job out in San Francisco area. I miss him. He was the only other person from like the Akron area for a while. But a couple, we had a bunch of organizers step in to kind of fill that gap and try to help out. And I'm supposed to be like kind of the resident artist of the trio. I really wanted to join and be an organizer because I want to try and connect the Cleveland game devs to more of the art and education communities around there. We have a few educators in the team already, like our lead organizer and a couple other people. But I wanted to try and get some of those college art groups that sometimes don't get a chance to make it out there, trying to, I'll carpool some of them just to get them there. And I'm working on, a banner for us. And then mostly I'm just there to kind of lend support for some of our bigger events like Global Game Jam. If I can make it to things, I'll do trash. I'm the pack mule. I'll try. But I just wanted to lend a hand in any way I could, especially trying to get some more of the art community links there.
Awesome. And I think it's deeply appreciated from the team, and the students that I've been able to talk to are very appreciative as well. Of it as well, I should say. It's I think it's been a wonderful for growing the community and showing people just how to connect with other disciplines and talk about shared interests. So thank you for that. Oh no. Let's see. Thank you for answering our what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? Because Ronan asks that every single time.
Well, I mean, it really depends on what kind of swallow it is. Is it carrying coconuts or what?
Oh gosh. Well, at least that one's out of the way now. So, we got a question here from Strawley Animation. What did you quickly learn from personal projects what not to do?
Don't be too ambitious. I learn it, yet I fall into the trap every single time. I have a mantra that I've kind of developed, and it's don't break the theme. I really try my best to keep all of gameplay linked to a single theme. You see a lot of Sonic games that try to do too many different things and they lose their way, games like that. But in Chroma, for example, the whole idea was this thesis of movement. And so at one point you recovered health by not moving. And I was like, this is an interesting strategy because you have to stand still and everyone else is moving. And then I realized, but it doesn't tie into the theme. So the eventual health mechanic is more of every time you defeat an enemy, they explode heart points. So you have to continue moving to gather them and feeling nice about it. So I've learned a lot of group like tactics, just like how to work with a team. Kind of got to give up some roles sometimes. Try my best not to micromanage. And again, the biggest lesson to learn is scope and project management.
That's I've heard that a few times now, and I know it's not a skipping record if it's different people. So scope and project management surely is the biggest thing. You also mentioned giving up roles, and in some ways, I can imagine people saying, "Oh, well, the artist does the art, the programmer does the programming." It's pretty simple, right? It's apples and oranges. But I think as people such as ourselves who do programming and some art, we understand that sometimes when you've got this idea in your head, or maybe you've made some art and you're programming, or you've been making this art for a project and then someone starts touching your code, that it's hard to let that baby go.
Yeah, I always, because I always knew what I wanted, I didn't want to just be an artist. I mean, even going through my portfolio here, you'll see 3D pixel art, and if we could show gameplay, I've made gameplay and stuff. But it's not that I never focused in on anything because I just wanted to be able to communicate with the team. Oh, the sticky notes behind my head. I will answer. Those were reminders about monetization methods, like ideas that I eventually had like linked together, and now they're just there. And on the wall next to me, there used to be a bunch of bugs in a game. It was like level 7 doesn't have a door, things like that. And then I just forget to take them down after fixing things. They've just become part of the wall now.
Interesting, an organic kind of decoration style. Not bad. Let's see, we've got a question here from the Mr. Muffins. Do you have any tips or advice for someone just getting out there?
Usually when I teach, and this is how I learned a lot of game development that was really nice, was take an already existing classic game like Space Invaders, Pac-Man, Asteroids, and try creating that. Like, give yourself a project. I've always, programmers always tend to say this, like, you'll teach yourself through just giving yourself projects, at least from programs I've known. And that's how I've kind of learned, was to just kind of do it and think as small as you can. I just want to create a Pac-Man game, and what if I added a block pushing mechanic? And then you'll learn so much about, like, oh wow, there's a lot of parts in game design that are really weird. And also, if you're just getting started, I guess books. Books help.
Books don't hurt. That's true. I prop up most of my monitors with books.
Yeah, there's a lot of great game design books out there now. I think that's it. Like, I wish I would have started by that's the thing I wish I would have done was create some smaller games like Pac-Man and stuff when I was younger, because my first instinct was go big or go home, and I don't think that's the best way to go. I think it's really just walk before you run. Pick a really small, dumb project like Space Invaders and add your own twist to it, and then you'll start to figure out who you are as a designer. Maybe I've seen people, oh, I really hate programming. I thought I was going to do programming, but now I'll learn art. Or I really liked this element, and you can go forth and pursue more of that.
Mm. Interesting. Taking pieces like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any books that you recommend when it comes to game development?
I wish my bookcase wasn't all the way in the other room.
I'm staring at mine like, if he names Jesse Schell's Art of Game Design.
Yeah, right away. That's the first book I always name is Jesse Schell's The Art of Game Design.
I don't know if you can see me, but I've got it right here.
Same copy. That was the first big game design book I really read, and I consider it like the Bible of game design. Like it doesn't go super in depth into anything. It just gives you all of the terms you need to look up when you I think it does mention like game feel. And then now I have a whole book on game feel. Game feel's good. Rules of play. I also do a lot of video game history reading. I have, I think, 12 books on game history. And I've learned a lot through there just from like other people's development cycles and stories. So Jesse Schell. Gotta shout out my friend Chris Totten, his book, An Architectural Approach of Level Design. I really enjoyed his book. He was actually on my committee for Chroma. What's another great book?
All right, if you don't get 3.
Well, I've already named some. It's just now I think Jesse Schell, Architectural.
Here we go. I'm pulling up a link to would you look at this? If I pull up Architectural Approach to Level Design, right up in the recommendations is a book of lenses.
Yeah.
I see what's going on.
I think I know. Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. It's not about game design per se, but it's about dev cycles and why did this game turn out bad? Because it wasn't just because they designed it bad. It's learning about the industry and the way that, there are politics and infighting and money problems that come into development because it is a business.
Right, and my goodness, that's especially watching something like Indie Game the movie and stuff. There's a whole lot that goes on to game dev that isn't just the dev. That can be a nightmare to itself.
I do think I see something. When you make those first games, expect them to suck. You can actually find the first commercial game I ever released, Hook Shot Hobo. If you just type that on Google, it'll pop up. I think it mostly gets 3 out of 5 stars, and some sites it gets 2 out of 5. And it was just, it was a so-so game. I enjoyed it, but I learned a lot from making it.
Oh man, yeah, good old 3 stars here on Newgrounds. Not bad.
Yeah, play the Newgrounds one. That's the one I get money for.
Yeah.
The rest were pirated, but we let that happen because free publicity, and we weren't planning to make money anyway.
There you go. And a little bit of money ain't a bad thing. A little bit of unexpected money, we'll say.
We've made this much money.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's
how I feel about everything I do. All right, we got a question here. Let me make sure I'm not missing a question. We've got one here from Matched Ocean. What is your favorite game? Banjo-Tooie for the N64.
Yeah.
The bear and the bird are back.
Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie are my all-time favorite games. And I actually have a signed copy of Banjo-Kazooie from Grant Kirkhope. And then this in-box one here. Then I always have my top 5 ready. So if it's okay, I can list my top 5 real quick.
Go for it.
Banjo-Tooie and Kazooie. Paper Mario for the N64. Metal Gear Solid 3. Mario Brothers 3. Resident Evil 4.
Interesting selections, my friend. Not too many modern names fall into that 5.
these aren't like the games I think are the best. It's just, man, these games had such a huge impression on me. If we go into my top 10, Splatoon's in there.
Yeah. Which
Splatoon.
Splatoon? 1 or 2?
I haven't played Splatoon 2 yet, so I can't put that there. I need to get it. I know. I'll join you.
Yeah. We got a number of people in chat who'd like you to join us sometime, so I'll be bugging you about that.
Yeah, I'll get it. I swear. I'll do it.
Let's see. We got a question from Matched Ocean 918. Have you heard of Bomb Fest?
Bomb Fest. Is that like
one word?
like,
I think he put it as two.
So that's not a thing in Cleveland? Yeah, I know Bomb Fest.
Please don't talk about the other Bomb Fest on my channel.
Oh no, is there another one?
There is a music festival called BOMB Fest, and I have stolen the hashtag from them, and they're not getting it back.
Well done.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so we got a question from Ronan, or R0N4N356. What is your favorite Pokemon?
Scizor. I know it's one of those weird humanoid Pokemons, but for some reason, since I was a kid and I had Scizor on my light-up Pokemon shoes, Scizor has been my favorite.
Scizor shoes?
Yeah, that's the thing, like, Scizor on shoes. Like, that was not the most common Pokemon, like, that people liked, but it was on shoes, and I never wanted to give them up.
You gotta trade that sucker with a metal coat to get him too, right? Like,
right,
that's some effort.
I liked Scizor. He was cool.
Well, to each their own.
Well, what about you, Zach?
Oh, favorite Pokemon. Have I talked about this? I'm pretty sure it's Misdreavus. I don't know. I freaking love the design of Misdreavus.
Is that Misdreavus, or is that the balloon one?
No, that's it looks like a plastic bag with a red pearl necklace. And
oh, yeah. I know. Okay, this is the other one I thought it was. Yeah, I love this one.
I don't Mismagius the evolution. I like Misdreavus alone, so I don't evolve that. But for some reason, something about that Pokemon, that and Absol. Absol's very high on my list. They kind of fight a little bit. And Mantine, but too many to choose.
I like Entei.
Somebody was telling me today that there are 800 Pokemon.
Only?
Only 800.
I can't wait for the new Poke-Rap.
Oh, gosh. It doesn't end! Yeah, there's a Misdreavus. Ronan just posted in the longest Google search link ever. That's an adorable Misdreavus. I don't know, something about the design, the coloring, especially the water. It's no longer watercolors back in this era, but
I also I like me some
Vaporeon. Not bad. Singing the entire dictionary. Oh, gracious. More than 800 we hear. Okay, we've got a question here from Smallest Pancakes. Hey, Bobby, what artists inspire you?
That would have to be, I really am inspired by, so I have 3 huge inspirations, and they're all Japanese, and it's purely by coincidence. Because I don't even do a lot of Japanese style or anything. I don't draw anime. But I love Ichiro Oda, the creator and writer, artist for One Piece. I love his passion. I love how crazy his designs get. His worlds are so awesome. I love Shigeru Miyamoto, of course. What game developer doesn't like Shigeru Miyamoto? Creator of Mario and creator of Luigi, who just died recently.
Oh, rip.
Hayao Miyazaki, and then he didn't do a ton of art, but a huge inspiration to me was Iwata. And his death actually really hit me hard.
Yo. I feel ya.
Yeah, those are I think the biggest art inspiration, people I know. But Ichiro Oda I love. I'm a huge One Piece fan.
Awesome. I haven't touched One Piece yet myself, but I have been dipping into the anime.
Read it, don't watch it. You'll never get through it.
Oof. You'll never see the end if you're watching it.
I mean, they're only up to chapter 960 something.
Goodness gracious. To keep telling stories, though, that's got to be fun.
Yeah, and he says he knows what the end is. He's known what the ending was since he started it. He just has to get there. And I really like that.
Oh, this is hopefully not a Half-Life 2 original plot kind of taking my time to get there sort of thing. Have you heard
That
about
would be
that?
sad. No.
Oh shoot, I'll have to talk about that some other time. Basically, Half-Life 2 had a really stupidly convoluted plot in the original betas and stuff until they cut it down into something really simple.
I did hear about that. Like, yeah, the characters talking about things. People just didn't like the overall experience, so they like scrapped it all.
Yup. There's like
It happened. The game got like hacked and leaked, didn't it?
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Classic Valve history.
Classic Valve. And you know what? They haven't had a leak in a while. Because they're not making anything.
Whoa!
They are making something. They haven't leaked it yet. Oof. Oh, favorite Smash Bros. Character, Rob the Robot? Oof. That's disgusting.
I like it because of how silly it is. Also, it's named after me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, he's the robotic operating buddy, right? So what's the ERT in your name?
Erratic, righteous transistor. Of course. Happy, and your choices are valid.
Oh gosh. Well, we'll see if we get you. There's still time. If you've seen the direct, I can spoil it. Otherwise, I won't spoil the direct. There might be people in chat who haven't seen it yet, but there's still time to get into Smash.
Yeah, that's right. Lanky Kong confirmed.
Yo, I keep trying to brag about this direct, guys. There's a mushroom that screws up your controls. Like that's huge. It's from Mother or something.
Yeah, Lanky Kong confirmed. I saw that. I saw the direct.
Yo, I'm waiting for Lanky. He was my favorite from Donkey Kong 64. He was just the right kind of goofy for me.
He inflates himself just like a balloon. This crazy Kong just digs his
DK Donkey Kong. Oh gosh, I could sing that for days. Both versions, the censored and the uncensored version.
I have a cartridge with the uncensored. Woo!
Ooh, lucky man. I've never owned the game, but someday I hope to. Someday.
I'm building my collection of Super Nintendo and N64. But the thing is, I don't collect them and like put them on a shelf to look at. I'm just like, no, I want the good ones because I want to play them.
The good ones. Dang, dude.
But I will brag, I have not one, but 2 copies of Flintstones, The Treasure of Sierra Madrock, a game that when brand new in box was once worth $20,000.
Oh my goodness gracious. And what's it up to now?
Like 40. I think it was like some sort of sales error for like a couple of years.
Yo.
I used to make jokes. It's like, who needs college when I have Flintstones?
Who needs college when I've got Flintstones? You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
Oh no. That's terrifying. Well, let's see. We should ask some questions about your projects. So, let's talk a little bit about Chroma, if you'd like.
Sure.
So, we've got some of that on the wall. We've got some of that rotating in the background here. You see the redheaded character with the paintbrush. Yeah. And a number of other artistic pieces that are going around. But, what was your inspiration for this paint-based game? Obviously, it's a ripoff of Splatoon, but what other influences did you have?
So actually, the game mechanic was something that was inspired freshman year of college because I just wanted to make another small Flash game, and it was a green wolf in a post-nuclear New York City, and you would leave a trail of flowers, okami. Because I love that leaving the trail of flowers effect, and the whole thing was like creating circles to bring, like you were like revitalizing the life in the city. So the whole city was gray. All the bad guys were these red animated like zombie corpses, and everything was green. But that didn't have enough character. Excuse me, because it was top down. And the more I went through college, I realized I really love animation to the point where I was a TA for animation. I do a lot of 3D animation and stuff. And I loved pixel art and pixel animation. So I wanted to do something with that, and I had this doodle when I got these markers of this redheaded girl with a paintbrush and like a black and white guy. I was like, huh, this is cool. And it just kind of hit me because it was weird to figure out the mechanic of leaving things and detecting what was inside that shape and not outside of it. But I finally got the story, and then it just started clicking. And I haven't touched any of the art for the game for a while. I've been reading a lot of philosophy books and things like that because I'm just writing the world. I already know all my mechanics and everything. Now I need to finish building the world and everything like that. So that's always bouncing around in my mind. And occasionally when I'm driving home for a long road trip, I'll turn on some music that inspires me for the game, and things will start going through my head of the world, and it will keep me awake. I'm like, oh, I'm getting tired. Time to think about Chroma.
Sick. So it sounds like we're getting into kind of the story building here. We've got the mechanics down pat. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you've got a brush, and the objective is to encompass people's to create paint that encompasses enemies or objectives to interact with them.
Yeah, so the whole idea was you have to, run around the character and encompass them in like a shape. And the whole idea was one enemy in an open field, no problem. 6 in an alleyway, you're really trapped. And it was all about movement. There is no attack button. You can't start swinging it around like a sword or a spear. It's all about movement. And that was like my theme. So everything in the game has to always tie down to this like philosophy of freedom and movement.
Any inspiration from Die Blob?
Not really. I knew it existed. There are a lot of I color out games out there. Like Mario Color Splash was kind of like an inspiration for some of the art style and color palettes. Splatoon had just come out by the time I was like working on the thesis. Sonic actually was an inspiration only because there's so much I felt Sonic did wrong, and I wanted to fix all the problems Sonic kind of had. Hold right except for sometimes.
Interesting. Make it better in that sense. Let's see, we've got some questions here. We've got one from Smalls Pancakes. Is Chroma still uncomfortably deep? Or is it uncomfortably deep in a different way since she last saw?
Yeah, it's gotten deeper. I have a problem with writing where I'll come up with funny looking characters like this mushroom old man and things, but then I write uncomfortably like deep emotional storylines to them. And then it's just like, look at this silly character. His wife died like 10 years ago and he's been living alone and contemplating his life. It's just like, So, but in general, I've just been researching more and more story writing, like Hegelian dialectic, where it's like, here's the thesis, this is the villain of this area who has an antithesis, and then when you fight, you make the synthesis and change the area for the better. A lot of inspiration coming from like how the Legend of Korra did their 4 seasons, and each season had that Hegelian dialectic. So I'm trying to structure the game in that manner.
Interesting. I do think I've definitely seen some art that reflects that. So I'm excited to see where that goes in the future. We've got a question here from Ronin356. Would Robert rather be a professional pixel artist who only does pixel art, or a professional 3D artist who only does 3D art?
That is actually a really hard question. Because I really like doing both. I've only ever done 3D professionally. Part of that was in school. It's like, okay, you have to be really good at a kind of art form or something to actually get a job, because there usually aren't entry-level jobs for game designer out there unless you've made a ton. So I really focused on 3D because I enjoyed it and everything. I love 3D painting, rigging, animating, the whole process. But pixel art is so simple and fun to just get in there and like work. There's less prep time. 3D. I really love pixel and 3D because there's a technical aspect to it. It's not, I just paint and then it's done. It's problem solving, which is part of the game design element that I love. Is I have an issue that I have to solve to make this art happen. So I'd have to go with 3D.
Sick. We got a question here from the Mr. Muffins. What are your preferred art programs?
So Photoshop, of course. I use Maya for all of my 3D modeling and everything. I use 3D Coat for painting and sculpting. And I do own ZBrush, but I haven't completely learned the UI yet. So, and plus, I really like 3D Coat having sculpting and painting, and I really like doing stylized painting. So I use 3D Coat for painting and everything. And then A-Sprite for pixel art, Unity for game dev now. The two games I'm working, the one game I made, Hookshot Hobo and Chroma and everything, and the current game I'm working on now, Airlock, that was made in a game engine called Stencil, which is a drag and drop coding engine that really helped me learn game logic and everything because I wasn't good at scripting initially. But now I'm in Unity finally learning big boy C#, and occasionally seeking out help from all of my dev friends, like this guy Zach. You might know him.
Doing my best to give what I can. Lead you, Bobby. We got a question here from Smallest Pancakes. What are your favorite things to model? Props, characters, environments?
Characters. I really like painting props. Though sometimes I will spend 2 hours trying to figure out what kind of wood texture I'm going to paint. But I really do like doing characters. It's really difficult. It's really all over the place because I love architecture. I'm a big architecture fan. So I love level design and things like that. But characters are so much faster to do a quick turnaround on. There's something really nice about when you get nitty-gritty sculpting into the cloth or like the muscles of them. I'd say character, because then you get to rig them and animate them, which is fun.
Very interesting. Man, that terrifies me. You've seen my characters. They are rectangles and circles.
My favorite kind of characters, though.
Get them right every time. Almost every time. Get them right every time, 50% of the time. That's how I work with 3D modeling. Have you got a cat with you?
No, not at this moment. I thought I had. No.
They're good blocks, Zach. Thank you, Smallest Pancakes. And who's Zach? I don't know. I've got a question here about education. So, when it comes to teaching games, you've taught students how to create games, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. How do you go about that as a teacher? How do you communicate this incredibly delicate process to people that may have zero to a little experience?
So I'll just give a brief introduction about me as a teacher, and then I can get into that. So I work for a company called the Center for Arts Inspired Learning. Occasionally I do stuff by myself, but I have taught from second grade to college lectures. I've done high school work. I constantly work at a high school teaching 3D modeling and 3D animation. I've done lectures on video game history that have lasted 1 day to 5 days long, and taught how to make a game and intro to programming stuff to second graders. And each one really poses the problem, but the core thing I talk about is, because we're working on educational game design right now, and that is discovery. Everything is more interesting when you do it yourself rather than be lectured. So sometimes I will turn game design into a game. I had them learning how to move their character. So I gave them a challenge. I made a preset map for them that had a maze. And then we had to program their character, and they had to navigate their character through the maze. And then also program when you ran into the maze, you would get hurt. And I always try my best to leave the last day of class I have with them, or the last two, or even just the last 10 minutes of class as a time to just experiment. Go into the code, the drag and drop, whatever, and mess around with buttons and see what you can find. And sometimes students, like one student created a character that everywhere they moved, they left a rainbow trail behind. And that was just using a loop, a variable, and like an addition. And it was all stuff we had talked about, but then they were like, oh, let's mess around and see what we do.
Nice.
And you're not going to leave a class with all, because I did a thing. It was like over a month. I taught over 100 students, and I'm going to tell you, not all 100 of them probably got everything from this class, but there's going to be usually that 5 to 10% that takes it further. And they're the ones who were the ones who are experimenting and discovering and learning things. And that's what you want to aim for. Sometimes game development isn't for everyone. Sometimes they're forced to, or you want to try and engage them. But the best way I feel to engage someone is to let them play, to let them experiment with what they're doing. And I did this class recently with Pac-Man, and holy crap, some of the little experiments they did at the end of their Pac-Man project were really cool. Stuff I'd never thought about. Like one did block pushing, one had a pickaxe that let them open up passageways to destroy walls. One had a power-up that multiplied their character and created them to move around like the enemies because you were greatly outnumbered. What did someone else do? Someone added shooting to the game. It was just really cool what I got to see.
That feeling of discovery has to be. It's not. What am I trying to say here? I've taught a few classes myself, and you get those rare few students who just. I had somebody teaching me new things in Construct,
right?
Games in Construct. And I'm like, holy crap! How'd you get the sprite to flip when you walk the other way? Like, I haven't figured that out yet. Like, crud! There's something beautiful about that. And then you're gonna get the 50. I should say, I'm speaking of my own experiences here. A good sum of the students that were not very invested, and a few that wouldn't listen to a word I said.
I've only ever had to kick a student out once.
Shoot, I had no authority, but it would have been more than once with my class. Oh, goodness gracious. But that feeling of that drive for discovery, that feeling that it's okay and that you can experiment and that there's something here for you to find out. It's not learning the 6 rules that your teacher has taught you and saying, well, what can I do with 6 rules? It's saying, there's got to be a 7th in there. And go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that came from me wanting to learn. I said I used to mess around in the backyard all the time. We used to make our own stick weapons and swords to the point where my friend made an actual, like a legit bow and arrow that launched a like wooden stick over the house, our like 2-story house. And we would like find things all over the place. And my dad, he used to hide things around the yard and things like that. And then we'd find it and be like, Dad, look, we found a skeleton hand. And like, it turned out it was from like a model. But it was just like, whoa. It was like, wow, that's crazy. But those were always the moments where I was the most interested. And the teachers in my high school and middle school, those were the teachers who I loved, who just let you kind of experiment. And now that we have Google, it's all about just teaching them what to Google, how to Google. Figure it out yourself. I'll just be your guiding hand.
Right. Cred. The beauty of Google is knowing that I can start a project, not know how to do it, and 80% of the time be able to figure it out by searching the right things. Like I've been writing a Discord bot recently, a few of them, and I'm like, there has to be a way to do this in a language I know. Like, oh, there's Python. I know Python. There has to be a way to capture usernames and repeat them. Like, oh, there is. There has to be a way to search for roles and titles and assign them. I can't find it. It took me a week. Then I found it. But still, it was there. And now I'm doing something I wouldn't have expected to have been doing before. Hey there, we got a mutual friend in chat, it looks like.
Yeah, I know that guy.
I've got a few questions here that we can get through. We got a question here from Mr. Muffin's favorite color.
I'm wearing it.
Ooh, the man is gray, is blacks, I should say, in very dark shades of gray.
It's weird. My fiance and I get in arguments. It's like, black's not a color. It's like, no, it is. And it's weird because I literally only wear black t-shirts. Only. Like, my wardrobe is that of a cartoon. But I love color. Like, Chroma is all about, like, rainbow colors and things like that. I just like wearing black.
And you know, when it comes to subtractive colors, black is every color.
See?
Unless we're talking light. We got a question here.
You're
From...
not
Okay. Don't start anything on stream, Robert. All right. We got a question here from Ronan. What would you change your name to, given it was a free procedure? I assume surgically. What would you change your name to?
Yeah, surgically change my name. You know what? I have no idea, so I'm just gonna do this game. I'm gonna look around the room and look at Malzus. Malzus the True.
Malzus the True.
Yes, that would be my full name. Or Sleeve McDykel.
Sleeve McDykel.
Yeah, that's a good name.
Interesting.
Just call me Sleeve for short.
Just call me Sleeve. Sleevey? Sleeven, perhaps, is your full name?
I live in Sleveland.
Don't we all? Don't we all? Well, let's see here. Let's talk about some of your other projects. I know you've been working with augmented reality lately.
I have been doing that.
So you see some things on the screen right now, too. We got this pop-up scene in the top right.
Yeah.
And that'll rotate to a frog popping off a piece of paper here. What is it like working in AR versus other types of game development?
So I'll just say the hardest challenge with AR, and this is for, there goes my fidget cube, for virtual reality as well. Getting over novelty, because you have to I'm trying to design a game that's purely for augmented reality, but this game could easily exist on any other platform. To not make it just a novelty of AR, like, oh look, it's a normal game that you would play on the computer, but now it's on your table. So that's one of the hardest challenges. But it's been interesting just because we're taking this education idea into it, and I'm thinking lateral thinking of like Nintendo's policy of don't try to do the new technology thing, try to do the new interesting thing. Mm-hmm. So we have simple markers. We're just using markers because people are starting to get used to them. Like, oh, you look at this with your phone and a model pops up. But what else can we do to it that just leads to a more interesting experience? And what we've been doing, and I've been trying to have us do, is more characters. A lot of AR right now is very tech-centered. So a lot of games out there are slingshot all of the blocks or shoot the ball through the rings and look, it's in real life. Some of the only ones with real character to them are like Pokemon Go. Mm. So we're trying to take this element of discovery and add like a character to it. And that coloring character who we'll see there, we actually have an augmented reality coloring book. You color the paper physically, and then you look at it with your phone, and the character will pop up with your colors on it. Mm-hmm. And I have a ton of these paper markers over here, just so I could constantly test it out. And so we added more character to it. Like some of the things I'm working on adding a head look script. So when you look around with the camera, he'll actually like look at you and wave you and ask for a high five or something like that.
That's incredible.
That's what we've been doing with AR. We do a bunch of client work, but we have our own IP, which we should be announcing in the next couple weeks. That's what the frogs do, and we have a bunch of characters lined up, and that little pop-up of the tree and like the swamp area, that's what that's all about.
Sick. That's exciting. Man.
AR's cool. Didn't think I was going to like it, but I'm kind of getting into it now.
Let's see. We got 3 questions at once. You beautiful, beautiful viewers. Thank you. Aren't you showing more at GDEX?
Yes. I can. So we will have a booth. Here is my mouse pad, my branded mouse pad.
Ooh, look at that. On brand.
360 Alley. So we'll be at the Ohio Game Developers Conference in Columbus in a couple months. And we'll be showing off that IP and some other stuff. And I saw another question on there, if I might take it, Zach, or if you want to read the next one, is are we doing anything with HoloLens? And we have a couple HoloLenses, but we're not doing anything with HoloLens right now because we're very much aiming for affordability and kids. We have HoloLens in our radar, but we're not doing too much of it, especially because we know our competitors who I saw in there, let's say we may be doing some at work, and it's like, oh, we know. We actually have similar clients with some of those people, and I am friends with some of the people working with that. And our CEO is good friends with some of the people doing that. But we're a different brand, you know. We're not aiming to do the new HoloLens technological revolution. We just want to put stuff in the hands of kids and adults to make it really accessible.
Very cool. We got a question from Oogby. What tools are you using to do AR?
We are primarily using Easy AR and Vuforia at the moment because I think we actually had to use Vuforia for the specific way we're doing the coloring book. But what's really nice is Vuforia now has a tie-in with ARKit and AR Core so that we can do markerless AR. We plan to experiment with this more in the future. We've used Easy AR because it's nice and affordable, and it's great for some of our simple products. And then we are looking into ARKit and AR Core through the Vuforia for some other projects that are kind of coming up. But we really focus on markers because a lot of people really identify with markers now. They recognize like QR codes and things like that, which are basically AR markers. But we are planning to look into markerless with the new shopping revolution coming around of, hey, I want to view this couch in my room. So I just look at it. So we're looking into some of that to, create apps and make assets. And yes, to Mr. Muffins, Unity is a huge AR platform, especially with Vuforia. That's what we're using. Vuforia is actually included in Unity by default now. You basically just have to do a checkbox and enable it.
Awesome. It's one of those packages you import at the beginning?
Yep.
Yo, that's incredible.
It's cool.
And hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more there. I think the biggest issue with AR, VR, and tools is we don't have enough people trying random and crazy things to discover what fits, What is the doom of computer video games, I think we're getting close when it comes to VR and AR, but we haven't quite done it yet.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's too much novelty right now. It's not...
It's a Wild West right now.
It truly is, especially if you've got money to spend.
Yeah. We'll see who breaks it. I mean, I've mentioned before, I think VR is going to have a couple, like a slight glut once it really hits mainstream, just because how many space shooting simulators are there in VR right now?
Too many. How many they all make me sick.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. We got a question here. What is your favorite thing about group gaming?
Group gaming. So this is a dumb quote I always like, and it's actually been debated whether or not it's true, but Plato always said, you learn more from a man in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. And I do love seeing how people react when playing games, and you can see how I react playing different games. If you see me play some game called Armello or whatever, you'll see that I'm very critical. But I've seen people, you have your trolls, you have your silly people, you have your strategists. I really like just seeing how people react when playing a game.
That's definitely not everyone. And I think I definitely fall into that group when I was growing up. I was content to sit back and watch, but definitely was not many of my friends. They were not content to watch. So maybe there's a certain leaning there that different people have to enjoy seeing how the people react and how to craft experiences for others in that sort of lens. That makes sense. Let's see here. We've got our question. Can your computer play Doom?
No, I can't.
I assume the original mine definitely can't. I don't have a floppy drive.
It can play Battletoads.
Is that so?
Yeah, I have a slot just for Battletoads.
It's a Battletoad-shaped slot.
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing? You're trying to make... I saw some of your pictures from your AR projects. Is this Battletoads?
Oh my gosh, he is a frog. Yeah, this is Battletoads like cousin.
Oh no, he chose the simpler life.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious. That's incredible. And let's see, have we got any final questions here? Oh gracious. I think we're getting down to it, my friend. So let me call it here. Thank you so much for joining us, Robert. Thank you for answering some questions, taking some questions from the chat. It's been a pleasure talking with you. So thank you.
Yeah, it was an awesome excuse just to hang out with you.
Yeah, I got to throw these more often, or else I don't catch up with my friends.
I see that calico back there.
Oh shoot! Yeah, she's back there. Hey, Lainey, come here. She's having a ball. The door is closed right now, so she's trying to figure out what to do to get out.
See, I'm sad none of my cats came in. The one time they don't climb up my spine and leg.
Well, hey everybody. I would like to say this whole Q&A session will be available on YouTube in 24 hours. I'll have it uploaded then, so if you missed it, you can catch the rest of it there. If you've got any additional questions for Bobby, feel free to leave them on our Discord, and I will make sure they get answered. Or type them now, I guess. We can figure them out. Not sure what I'm talking about now. Bobby, do you have any links that you'd like to send to our viewers to put in the video description? Or type into the chat here so people can connect with you outside of this Q&A?
I guess the two best ways you can connect with me is my Twitter, at Robert Lauer, which I'll post a link to. And also, I also do some stream things. Oh, look, there it is.
Would you look at that?
What's the arrow key? That's me.
There's a little stream you guys can go follow if you want right now. And here is Robert on Twitter. So please go check him out. Go follow him on
beat me there.
Twitch and on Twitter to stay connected. Send your extra questions there. That's what I was trying to say. And
yes.
Yeah, we will have this all.
If you go to my Twitch now, you'll just be watching this stream again because I auto host that.
So if you're wondering why you're seeing the same thing, this is why. And if you're ever on my stream and you see Robert, the audio host works both ways. So thank you all for stopping in, chat. I'm going to sign off real quick, and then Robert, I will be back with you in a moment. So thank you again for coming, and we'll say bye to the chat, and then we'll wrap up. So thank you guys for coming.
Thanks, everyone. It was awesome.